guys, so today I want to talk about veganism and the Wiccan Rede. So this is going to be a two-parter video because the first part I'm just going to talk about the Wiccan Rede, and the second part I'm going to be explaining a little more about veganism because it is something new and I've had experience talking about this topic before on my Wattpad page, which is a typed out version of this book that I am reading off of, and I've seen people's response to it, so I know that it needed a little more than some of the other chapters because it's still something going on right now that needs a little more discussion to make people understand about it. So up here I have the different parts of the Wiccan Rede that relate to veganism, and then below I talk about how it relates. The first part, live and let live. I put let the animals be, don't breed them just to exploit them and kill them and then eat them. Animal products are not needed for human survival. The American Dietetic Association states appropriately planned vegetarian diets, including total vegetarian diets or vegan diets, are helpful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. Well-planned vegetarian diets are appropriate for individuals during all stages of life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, and adolescence, including athletes. I think a lot of people forget the only reason meat and dairy contain the nutrients they contain is one, because the body makes it naturally without needing anything, or two, because they got it from the plants they were eating to build their body and fuel their body. So herbivores consume nutrients from plants, it gets absorbed into their body, and the only thing they produce by themselves, not from the plants, is cholesterol. Everybody makes their own cholesterol. We do not need to consume cholesterol to get cholesterol. So carnivores have evolved to digest their animals, digest the acidic flesh, the cholesterol, and the nutrients. Whereas if a herbivore were to eat an animal, they would develop atherosclerosis over time because their body cannot break down the cholesterol that they're consuming, the LDL cholesterol. We are behaviorally omnivores. We can eat meat to survive, and we can eat plants to survive. But over time, if you're eating a very high meat diet, or even a little bit, it can have an effect on your arteries and your heart and all these other diseases you can develop from not being able to break down that cholesterol, and a few other things that are in animal products. Dr. Sophia Pineda Okia, I cannot say her name. She has a video on Meet Your Future called Are Humans Omnivores, Carnivores, or Herbivores? And that basically explains more in detail all of the different parts of our body, like our intestines and our stomachs and the enzymes in our saliva and all that kind of stuff. It perfectly explains what category we fit into based off of all of that. So go check that out to understand that a little bit more. I'll try to link it down below. Nutritionfacts.org is a great place to go to learn more about the disease aspects. So like what foods are causing the diseases, why are they causing those diseases. He basically takes a bunch of studies. I don't know if they're all peer reviewed, but I for some reason feel like they are, and he just discusses them with you. And he even does other topics like, is quinoa better or is rice better? So it's really interesting. So that's Dr. Michael Greger at nutritionfacts.org. There's also a few other plant-based doctors that have books that explain all of that more too. So I'm just going to list them off, so if you want to look into things more, then you can. Dr. Michael Greger, like I already mentioned, John A. McDougall, Neil Bernard, and Michael Clapper. So we might be able to get nutrients from animal products, but we can't choose what nutrients we get and what nutrients we can't get. We get the whole package. You can't just be like, oh, I want iron, and then be like, oh, but I don't want the cholesterol. You get everything. So it's better to just go straight to the plants, not get the cholesterol that causes heart disease and all these other things. An example, why would you drink pop or soda to get water when you can just get get water from a tap without drinking sugar and chemicals. The next phrase from the Wiccan Rede is actually two of them, and I put them together because they're very similar. Soft of eye and light of touch, and merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. So you're not showing love and understanding by killing something or exploiting them for their products. So you can't use that you're doing it for survival as an excuse anymore, because as the American Dietetic Association stated and multiple other, that's just not the case. The only reason you are doing it is for taste and for enjoyment of the taste. And that justification really has no more meaning than if a serial killer was like, I kill people because I like killing people. You know it's wrong because there's an innocent victim involved. And a lot of people are speciesist and they don't see that a cow, a chicken, or a pig is really no different than a dog, a cat, or a human. They're all sentient beings. They all feel pain. It's all wrong to kill them, especially when you don't need to. So speciesism is when one species believes they are superior to another. We really favor, in the Western world, cats and dogs, but in other countries, they eat cats and dogs, and we think that is terrible. We think that is so wrong, but it's no different. We eat cows, pigs, and chickens here. They eat dogs and cats there. They're both all of them are sentient beings. That's all that really matters. It's wrong either way. Don't try to say it's wrong to kill cat and dogs, but it's okay to kill chickens, cats, and pigs, because why? Why is it like that? It's because of social conditioning. Another part of the Wiccan Rede was fairly take and fairly give. Clearly, you cannot take somebody's life and give them back their life. If you're drinking milk or you're eating eggs, you cannot give back those milk and eggs, and you could give them back your breast milk and your ovulations, but that'd be weird. So why are we eating those? So in the milk industry, you're taking milk. It's not yours. It's meant for the baby calf. That is why breast milk is produced. The mom produces it for her baby that she gives birth to. Mother cows are artificially inseminated in most places to get the cow pregnant. 9 months later, she has the baby. They take the baby away because if the baby is with the mom too much, the baby would drink the milk like it is naturally meant to do. And that's not what they want, because they want to sell the milk to you. So they give the cow a small amount of the milk, or they feed them formula. If the calf is a male, it will be put into the veal industry at about 5 months old. And it could be raised a little bit longer for the beef industry, which in the end means they're dying, and they're dying really young. And female cows, they're also taken away from their mother, but they end up living the same fate as the mother. They're artificially impregnated multiple times throughout their life until they get drained of their energy. They become downers. They cannot get up themselves, so they are sent to slaughter. After about 4 to 6 years of age, instead of their natural 20, they would live in the wild or in sanctuaries. You have stolen their time, their energy, their children, and their life, and you cannot give that back fairly. In the egg industry, you're taking eggs that are not yours. If you were trying to give something back of equal value, you would have to give the chicken your period, which is when your egg is released from your body because it is not fertilized. Eggs are chicken periods, quite literally. But egg-laying chickens are genetically modified to lay more than 300 eggs a year instead of the natural 13-ish they used to produce in the wild before we messed with their genetics and their bodies. So this would basically mean you're having your period almost every day of the year. Could you imagine that? And because these chickens are producing so many eggs, they're so drained of their energy that a lot of times their eggs end up breaking in their cloaca, which is where the eggs come out of. It's basically the vagina of the chicken, the butthole of the chicken, and the pee spot of the chicken. I'm learning anatomy and I don't even know the term for that right now. Everything comes out of that one spot. And if the egg breaks in there, it can stab them and they can bleed and they can die from it. So when they are producing egg-laying chickens, they have genetically modified them specifically to make a lot of eggs. So what happens when a male is born? There's a 50% chance that can happen. The male chicks, because they are useless to the egg industry, they are macerated. which means they are ground alive. This has to happen before 72 hours of life. This is a standard farming practice, like everything else I am talking about. This happens everywhere, and if they're not ground up alive, then they are suffocated in bags. Unless somebody owns their own farm and they raise them anyway, but standard practice, they don't do that because there's no use for them in the egg industry. And in the meat industry, they don't produce enough meat, so there's no point in feeding them all this food, waiting for them to grow when they're not going to grow and they're just going to eat all the food. So they're useless. So they kill them when they're little so they don't waste resources trying to make them bigger. Because in the meat industry, they genetically modify chickens to produce a lot of meat. And this leads to a lot of diseases. I'm just talking standard farming practices here and what is commonly found in farms. Grew up on a farm, neighbor was a farmer, that neighbor's neighbor was a farmer. So I have a little bit of experience, but my experience doesn't matter because what happens in the farms near me doesn't happen everywhere in the world. And that's really what matters. So female chicks are raised the same as their mother in the egg-laying industry. And chickens actually can eat their own eggs to restore calcium because when their bodies are producing that egg that's unfertilized, they lose a lot of calcium. Whereas if the egg was fertilized, there would be a purpose for laying the egg. So when it's unfertilized, they eat the egg sometimes to restore their calcium. But instead, we take the eggs and we give them calcium-filled food, which doesn't really do much because they still end up dying really early from overexhaustion. And when their egg production declines, they actually starve them for about 2 weeks to try to speed up their egg production. And when that declines again, they are sent to slaughter because they are useless. And ye harm none is the next part of the Wiccan Rede. So that's kind of self-explanatory, but you're basically harming animals by doing all that, certainly when you don't need to. And you're also not only harming the animals, but you're harming workers. Slaughterhouse workers have some of the highest rates of mental illness and PTSD. And they also get physical injuries. 20 out of 100 workers get physical, non-fatal injuries. And leather workers are also heavily in danger. So when you're purchasing products, you're basically paying for them to continue doing what they're doing. Most leather comes from Bangladesh or India, even where cows are very sacred in India. It's strange that people don't realize that there's still killing of cows that goes on there. They have to do it definitely more secretlessly, and they make them walk a long distance. They starve them so they pass out so they can use them for the leather. The Friendly Activist actually has a video kind of explaining that more in one of his videos, so I'll try to link that down below or maybe up here. He explains it really well. He's really calm and he has a lot of informative videos, so definitely go check him out. But working in tanneries is really unhealthy for the workers because they don't normally have protection in developing countries. So they're exposed to a lot of chemicals and toxins during the tanning process. There's no safety regulations, just like in a lot of fast fashion places. A lot of workers are also children and they're really underpaid compared to the Western world. Also harming yourself, as I mentioned previously. Definitely go check out that information if you still don't understand that, but I will try to explain it more in part 2 of this. And What the Health, it's a new documentary that just came out. You can try to look it up on YouTube or something to get it for free, or you can actually go and support them if you just look it up. But this kind of explains why this information is hidden from you about the health sides of things. And it's just really mind-blowing about how far money gets people. Hitty Flower, Bush and Tree by the lady Blessed to Be. So this is about the environment. You're supposed to be really nice to the environment because this is the main thing we care about as Wiccans. We are pretty much all environmentalists because that is what we worship. And the environment suffers really greatly with this factory farming that we have going on today. Cowspiracy is a great documentary that really opened up my eyes to this information, and then I dove in even further and looked at all their studies that they used for the documentary because it's mind-blowing how long this information has been out there, but people are just pushing it away because taste is what matters. Who cares about the environment? And it's just terrible that we're doing this. But to highlight some of the information, I have listed a few things that I just want to talk to you guys about, which I have in the book. Maybe I should try to summarize it, but then I would feel bad because I want to give you guys all the information. The United States Geological Survey says 40% of fresh water is used for animal agriculture. So that's including irrigating the crops that are fed to the animals, as well as what the animals are drinking. And only 13% was like home use, like taking a shower, watering your lawn, that kind of stuff. Flushing toilets, washing your car. You can water your lawn less and you can take shorter showers, but it's not gonna help much because you have to take, well, you don't have to take showers. You can be really dirty, but that won't get you far in today's society because you need to be clean in order to have a job, in order to make money, in order to put food on the table, in order to live, have a house over your head. It's not realistic to just not shower. Again, the showering part and flushing toilets, like that's not realistic in today's society. So we can't cut that 13% number out. But the 40% number, we can cut that out. We can drop that down drastically because we are feeding 150 billion livestock every year just so we can eat, or their secretions. We could just be eating the grain that they are producing and we would have enough food from what we're feeding them to feed 10 billion more people. There would not be world hunger if we, well, a lot of world hunger sites believe that it's the lack of food that's the problem for world hunger, but that's not the case. We have plenty of food. We just feed it to the animals instead of the 82% of starving people from developing countries. But why are we trying to save water if there's a water cycle and the water just keeps coming back through the water cycle? The problem isn't really the water we are consuming, it's when the water gets polluted. Water can move around the earth, so if there's one country that is growing all the food, like developing countries, and they're shipping it to the Western world, we're taking the water that was used to make that grain with it. So it doesn't get to get refueled through the water cycle and rained back on them very much. It gets brought in over here and we get more water. That's why we have droughts. So when water gets contaminated, it's unfit for human consumption and it's causing ocean dead zones from runoff. I'll talk more about that later. But it takes about 2,500 gallons in California to produce one burger, a 1 pound burger. But only 25 gallons are needed to make 1 pound of wheat. And there's lots of other examples showing how much water we need for animal products versus how much water we need for plants, and you can clearly see which one is more sustainable. It would also require way less fossil fuels to harvest crops meant for human consumption than wheat crops that are fed to animals, because you would have to hand harvest a lot of products for human consumption. You can't just go with a combine and harvest a bunch of lettuce. Energy-wise, 1 calorie of beef from feedlot is 40 calories, while only 2 calories of fossil fuels are needed to produce 1 calorie of plant protein, tofu. So you can see that big difference in how much energy does it take to make that and how much energy does it take to make that. It's a huge difference. World hunger wise, I kind of already mentioned that issue, but I should also mention that 1 cow eats enough to feed 20 people a plant-based diet. So I realize everyone switching to a plant-based vegan diet isn't gonna stop world hunger right away, but it's part of the solution, as a lot of the world hunger sites say themselves. Getting the food is the main problem, they say. So we got the food, they can solve the problem after that. Deforestation-wise, we are running out of room to grow crops and to have animals for the growing population that wants to eat animal products. So we need more room, so we're cutting into rainforest to make that room. With every square foot of rainforest gone, up to 30 different plant species, 100 different insect species, and dozens of birds and mammals and reptiles are being destroyed. Half the species on Earth live in the rainforest. Forests are also vital to the world's oxygen supply, although the oceans also give off 8 out of every 10 breaths of oxygen from the phytoplankton. But don't rely on the ocean because it's really not in good shape either because of the ocean dead zones. Ocean dead zones are runoff, and this leaks into the ocean and it kills miles and miles of life. No life can live in that area, and there is more than 500 of these around the world. Livestock in the States produce 2.7 trillion pounds of poop every year. Where do we put that poop? Well, we can spread it on crops and spread viruses, or they can put it in manure lagoons. But these aren't that safe. 1995, 25 million gallons of manure and urine from a hog farm spilled into the Gulf of Mexico. There is now a 7,000 square mile radius where there's no life. It immediately killed all the fish. Ocean dead zones are caused by fertilizers leaking in, pesticides, but also manure. We have a lot of poop. It has to go somewhere. It always ends up in the ocean. So when we decrease the amount of animal products we are consuming, we decrease the likelihood of pollution happening to our oceans and to the sky. Because farms are responsible in the States for 73% of ammonia released into the air. Ammonia can mix with other gases, and that can cause a lot of respiratory problems in our population. It can also cause smog and acid rain. And the meat industry is the #1 cause of methane production in the world. It releases over 100 million tons every year, and methane is one of the worst gases that traps heat into our atmosphere. Why do I always say that? Traps heat into our atmosphere, heating up us on the inside. The last part of the Wiccan Rede is 3 times bad and 3 times good. Whatever you're putting out into the world, good or bad, it will be multiplied by 3. This is basically karma. What goes around comes around. If you're being negative, negative things are going to happen to you. If you're being positive, positive things are going to happen to you. You're paying for so much exploitation and murder to happen by consuming animal products that doesn't even need to happen. And you're paying for the environment to get destroyed. You're paying for slaughterhouse workers to get mental illnesses and leather workers to get diseases and issues. You're even harming your own health. So many bad things might be going on in your life. Maybe these health issues are karma coming back for what you're doing when it doesn't need to be done. If you're visualizing that what your everyday choices are causing, go to adapt.org. It's a kill counter. We'll show you exactly how many animals are dying every second and of the different species. This really shows you that that chicken that you had for lunch, a lot of other people also had chicken for lunch, and it is causing an effect on the planet, on the animals, on your health. And if you don't believe one individual can make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. And that's all I want to talk about with you guys for part 1. We'll see you guys in part 2. Bye.